Hello, everyone, and welcome to the December 7th, 2018 Lake County Sentinel Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Shirer, and publisher and editor of the Lake County Sentinel, and I'll be with you for this half hour. We'll spend the first 15 minutes talking sports, and then in the second 15 minutes, we'll spend some time on politics and events of the day. Let's get started right out here right now we have some things going on in the world of sports. We had some sad news overnight about former Cleveland Indian infielder Luis Valbuena. Luis played for the Indians from 2009 to 2011. Tragically, overnight in his home country of Venezuela, Valbuena was killed along with another former Major League infielder, Jose Castillo, when their car crashed on a Venezuelan road. Actually, the car went off the road, avoiding a boulder. They were killed, and the driver and another passenger in the car, another former big league infielder, Carlos Rivero, survived. Thankfully for that, the two of the men survived, but Valbuena and Castillo were killed tragically, and it turns out that it was a plot by Venezuelan thieves that were trying to rob Valbuena and Castillo, and it's very common, I guess, in these Latin American countries for these plots to be carried out, and sometimes they go bad, and this kind of thing sadly happens. It's very sad, and hopefully, the men have been arrested, and hopefully they'll be prosecuted. The Indians released a statement on Twitter that said, "The Indians are saddened to hear of the passing of former Tribe infielder Luis Valbuena. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family and friends." It's just very sad when someone young passes away like this. Current Indians, Danny Salazar tweeted, "So sad for this news. God has a good place in heaven for you, mi amigos. All condolences to Valbuena and Castillo's family. Hashtag rest in peace, brother." So it's very sad. And, I don't know, really what what can be done about this kind of thing happening in Venezuela. I don't live there. I don't know the culture down there at all, so I can't comment on that. But it's very sad to see these two major leaguers killed, and I'm sure people who are not major leaguers, everyday citizens, have been victims of these type of plots, and that's very sad. So, rest in peace, Luis Valbuena. I know you gave it all when you played, and you were a joy to watch. Even when you weren't on the Indians, you were a joy to watch because you always seemed to love the game. So, excuse me. We'll move on to Cavaliers news. The Cavs play tonight against the Sacramento Kings in Cleveland at the Q. The Kings are having a good season. By Kings standards, they are 12-11. They are, in playoff contention in the West. That doesn't happen that often since the days of Chris Webber. The Kings have been in the doldrums. So, if you root for the underdog, it's kind of a story where you're kind of happy for the Sacramento fans that their team is good, finally, and such things as that. But, of course, tonight, we're going to hope that the Cavs beat them. It would be really nice to see the Cavs win this game. They're going to be wearing their Rock City uniforms tonight, the blue and orange, which I actually like. I think they're pretty nice. Are they the greatest uniforms ever? No. But I think they're pretty nice. And it's I like a change once in a while, so it's nice to see them play in these uniforms. And let's hope maybe they can have a good game tonight and they can beat the Kings. So, let's hopefully something good will happen tonight over at the Q. But there will be some players missing on the court tonight at the Q. Sam Decker and George Hill will not be in uniform for the Cavs as they have been traded to the Milwaukee Bucks for former Cavalier Matthew Dellavedova and center power forward John Henson. But the big part of the trade is the Cavaliers will get the Milwaukee Bucks first and second round picks in 2021. So the Cavaliers are doing what you have to do when you are in a rebuilding mode. They are, especially in the NBA, they are racking up draft picks. Even though these draft picks are 3 drafts away, they could be very important. They could be used as in trades. Package them together with other things to get the draft picks they need, to draft the players they want, to rebuild hopefully pretty quick and start contending again. Let's not think just because LeBron James is gone that the Cavs will never contend for a championship again. They will. Yeah, he's a once-in-a-lifetime player, but that doesn't only mean the Cavs could only win one championship ever. I think that they're going to rebuild and they'll contend again. Do we know who? With who they'll contend? Or what players they'll have? Or how long will it be? No, we don't. But let's just hope that this trade works out. It'll be nice to see Matthew Dellavedova back with the Cavs. His attitude is great. We all love the attitude of Matthew Dellavedova. Can anyone ever question that? He's one of the hardest working players that the Cavs have ever had. And it'll really be nice to see him back in a Cavs uniform and to see him, bring it all every day. This is a guy who ended up in the hospital after a finals game because he drank so much coffee to get ready for the game that he dehydrated. So this is a guy that puts it all out there. And I think, if the Cavs would have had him the 2 years after they won the championship, they might have won another one. I don't know if they would have, but some think they would have. So let's welcome Matthew Dellavedova back. as a Cav, I'm sure he's going to get a huge round of applause when he returns. I don't know when that will be. It's not going to be tonight, but when he returns to the queue, I'm sure there's going to be a nice round of applause for him and good recognition from the fans welcoming him back to Cleveland. So let's move on a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about fantasy sports. We're getting near the end of the regular season for fantasy football leagues. I know the 5 leagues I'm in, 3 of them end the regular season this week. One of them is a rotisserie, so it goes to the end of the year, to the end of the regular season, the NFL season, so that'll continue. But 3 end this week, and then I have 1 that ends next week, their regular season. But if you're getting ready for the playoffs and you're looking for some players, there are still some good players out there, and the thing I've noticed about fantasy football is unless you have really, really dedicated people in your league, unless everybody in the league is very dedicated, you have a chance to pick up players late in the year like this. I'm constantly looking for players in my leagues, and it's possible to pick players up late. I'm thinking of a couple guys that I know of. I mentioned yesterday, Adam Humphries and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is a really good pickup if your league counts return yardage, like punt returns and kick returns, as well as receiving. Adam Humphries is your guy because he returns punts and sometimes kickoffs for Tampa Bay. And he's been catching the ball a lot lately with Deshaun Jackson being out. So he's a guy that if he's available in your league, I'm telling you, that's a guy you might want to pick up. I think Spencer Ware, if he's still out there, that's a guy you could pick up. Doug Martin, who's on Oakland, he might still be out there in your league. I picked him up in a couple leagues. I haven't had to play him. I played him during a bye week once, but I haven't really had to play him since. But he's a good backup. If a guy gets hurt, at the end of the week or just before the game, they say he's not going to play. I can put Doug Martin in, and I don't lose a lot because he's been running the ball a lot for Oakland. So, those are some guys you can pick up. There's a lot of options out there. I think quarterback is very thin right now. I think because, there's a premium on quarterbacks. People want quarterbacks. They want extra quarterbacks in case guys get hurt or get benched. That's what happens. Guys get benched, a lot in the NFL now. So picking those guys up is something. If you can pick up guys late in the year like this, then you're really doing well. The other fantasy sports are ramping up right now. Fantasy hockey and fantasy basketball. I'm in 2 hockey leagues. I'm in 2 basketball leagues. And they're really getting into the meat of their seasons right now. We're in the 9th week of the hockey season. We're in the 8th week of the basketball season. I'm glad. I'm doing well in all 4 of those leagues. I'm not in first place in all 4, but I'm in the playoffs right now, in the upper parts. So, I just think if you're in fantasy hockey, you need to have a balanced team. It's possible. I didn't think it was, but I realized over the last couple of years you can have a balanced team and you can win. In basketball, go young. I go with the young guys, and that really helps. They don't get hurt as much, and they're more reliable. They don't have to take games off. So that's my fantasy advice for this week. And that ends the sports portion of our broadcast for tonight. We'll be back here on the other side with the political portion of our broadcast right after this. Welcome back to the Lake County Sentinel Podcast. For the second portion of our half hour, we're going to be talking about some news events of the day, some politics, and some news. And we'll get right to it. Today is, of course, as you know, it is December 7th, 2018. 77 years ago today, we were viciously, surprisingly attacked by the Japanese. They attacked Pearl Harbor, and thousands of American soldiers were killed. 2,403 Americans were killed in the attack. Ships were sunk, and I'm sure the Japanese felt that they crippled our Navy. Well, they didn't. The same thing happened on that day and in the days and years after that always happened in the United States. We got struck. We got knocked down, but we got back up, and we fought the war in the Pacific, and the United States fought the Nazis in Europe and in Africa, and the good guys won. The good guys avenged all of those deaths on that day. It was December 8th when FDR declared war on Japan, and then several days later, on December 11th, Germany and Italy declared war on the United States. And the U.S. then responded with a declaration of war against Italy and Germany. Of course, we know how that ended for Germany and for Italy and for Japan. It did not end well. 77 years ago today, Japan made a big mistake. 4 days later, Germany and Italy made a big mistake. And we took them down. The United States took them down. It was just one of the many examples of you be a bad guy and attack us, and we'll strike back, and it won't end well for you. So let's never forget that day where 2,403 Americans were killed and 1,178 were wounded. It was the beginning of World War II for our country. And there was no looking back. Heroes like Bob Feller and many others signed up in the days following and went and fought bravely defending our country in winning World War II. But this was truly a day that will live in infamy, as Franklin Delano Roosevelt said. A day we should never forget. It's been 77 years. Thankfully, our country has not forgotten the horrible events of that day. But we have a lot of other issues going on in the United States now. A lot of things not so good going on in the United States. You know, we have a president who doesn't seem to think he has to follow the law. We have supporters of that president who don't care what he does or says. They still follow him and believe everything he tells them. So he has to be held accountable. You can't lie to the American people. You can't collude with a foreign power to win an election in the United States. Especially if that foreign power is Russia. And we know now that Donald Trump colluded with Russia. It sounds like the evidence is more clear every day that Donald Trump colluded with Russia to become president of the United States. Tried to get information about Hillary Rodham Clinton so he could become president, to make her look bad. That's happened. Pretty much, it's getting clearer every day. The Mueller investigation is proving this. More and more of Trump's people are being indicted and sent to prison all the time. I don't know why his supporters continue to support him and don't realize what's going on here. But they do. They just keep believing everything he says. So today what happened was the documents came out in federal court asking for the sentencing guidelines for Michael Cohen and Paul Manafort. And they're not good for them. He wants them to both go away for quite a while. And we'll see, what happens. What does this mean for Trump? A lot of people think that the stuff that was said in the documents today is very damning for Trump. Very damning. Like, they lied for him. When they mention in the indictments, person number one, that's Donald Trump. When a sitting president is named in an indictment where someone is indicted for breaking campaign finance laws, and a sitting president is named in the indictment as person number one, that's not good for the president. It's not good at all. I think Donald Trump should be a little worried right now. I'm not an attorney, but I think Donald Trump should be a little worried right now. From everything I have heard from a lot of legal experts, he should be very worried, and he should probably stop tweeting. he probably should stop tweeting about what's going on, because it's not real good. Doesn't make him look good if he keeps tweeting saying he's okay, there's no problem. Well, when everyone knows there is a problem, you know, I don't know if did Manafort and Cohen did not cooperate as much as we might have thought, or did Manafort and Cohen? Manafort sounds like he did not cooperate at all. Sounds like Paul Manafort, sorry, did not cooperate. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Sounds like Paul Manafort did not cooperate at all. And it sounds like Cohen did not cooperate soon enough. Therefore, he is going to go to prison. It looks like, from what I've seen, 5 to 6 years maybe. I could be wrong about that. But we'll see. You know, it's not looking good. I'm thinking Trump should be a little worried right now. But hey, who knows? Who knows what'll happen next with this? But I'll tell you one thing. I don't think it's anything but a witch hunt. It's not a witch hunt. They want all of us to think it's a witch hunt. And if they keep saying it'll all go away. Well, we all know better than that. We all know it's not going to just go away. The truth has to come out. Our elections were tampered with. And the Trump campaign was right in the center of it. So the truth has to come out. If our election system and our government integrity as a democracy is going to continue, the truth has to come out. So in the coming weeks, there could be very big events. I think after the first of the year, a lot's going to happen. So, but also, we touched yesterday on the stock. Now I'm going to sneeze. Jeez. We touched on the stock market yesterday. And now we're going to touch on it again here at the end. And as I closed the show yesterday, we talked about how much this. Oh, excuse me. Oh my gosh. We talked about how much the stock market had gone up under Obama and Trump. Well, the numbers have changed a little bit more. Now, in 2018, the stock market has not gone up under Donald Trump. In fact, excuse me. In fact, in 2018, the stock market has lost 535 points under Donald Trump. Yes, it might be a correction, but let's talk about the loss as much as we bragged about the gains. I'm going to get off the air now, but hopefully I'll talk to all of you on Monday. But join us Sunday at 12:15, my son and I, for our NFL Predictions podcast. Until then, I hope everybody has a good night. Go Cavs.